Terrific. Well, thanks very much for joining us in this first session of the Social Media and Advanced Internet Marketing Training course brought to you by Health Connections. Just advance the screen one. There we go. So we're going to kick off with, I'm just going to give a brief overview of the case study that we'll be looking at, just very high level information. And today's topic is going to be all about keywords, because keywords pretty much set the foundation for everything that you do across the internet. The reason for that is that the Google search engine and all the other search engines bring relevant information to those people who are out there searching based upon the keywords that they type into the Google search engine. So everything gets brought to the person who's looking based upon what keywords they put into the Google search engine. So just as an overview, we're talking today about a newborn screening organization that screens for 28 diseases via a heel prick test. And it's been provided to me the fact that your communication goals are both business to business and also business to consumer. So by business to business, what I mean is that perhaps an organization might be a healthcare organization that is trying to raise awareness among physicians. By business to consumer, what I mean is that perhaps you're a healthcare organization that is trying to raise awareness among consumers or patients. So when anyone's thinking about their communication goals, you need to think about whether you're business to business or business to consumer, because you'll have two different audiences at least, if not more. And then in this case, we're also interested in communicating internally as well too. So we always want to know the purpose or the main purpose of an organization and what are your business goals and why are you looking at social media and advanced internet marketing and what you're trying to accomplish. And very important is, do you have a website that you're starting with? So in this case, yes, there is a website that we're starting with, so we're going to jump in from that perspective. When you're looking at your website, it's important to think about what is your excuse me, your domain name and your URL. Do you wish to change or improve the website? Why or why not? If you do not have a website so far, why do you not have a website, and do you want to launch one during the course of this training program? One of the things we'll be talking about later on in another session is adding a blog to a website. A blog is a great way to get fresh content out there for the user who might be looking for information from your organization, and also to create new pages and new posts or blog posts about information that can help drive people to your website. So those are important things to think about as we move forward. Okay. So keywords. Sorry, I'll just make sure. Yep, keywords. Having a good keyword strategy, it'll help in many, many areas. People have different objectives of what they're trying to accomplish. Keywords will help you improve your brand awareness, because let's say you're focusing on 20 different keywords, sort of 20 ways to get to your brand. By having all those keywords optimized across the internet, you will raise your ranking as closer to the first page when someone's searching on those keywords, and that will therefore raise your brand awareness. Keywords are also the cornerstone to developing an effective and methodical social marketing strategy. Everything is built off of keywords. They're the foundation to everything else that you'll do. Good keyword optimization will help you increase your website traffic. If you have a keyword that you're using that only is getting 30 people across the whole country searching for it every day versus 30,000 people, you can imagine that 30,000 people looking at that keyword will help increase your traffic quite a bit. Your keywords will also help you effectively communicate your different messages to different target audiences. What you might say to a patient and what keywords might be important there are very different than what keywords might be important to physicians. So it's important to think about those things. And of course, keywords will improve your search engine ranking positions for commonly searched words that are available all across the internet. Okay. So where will keywords be used? Keywords will be used in your email marketing that you do. It will help you look at how you can segment your markets differently, as I mentioned before. Keywords will help you create your subject lines, your article headlines. They'll help you describe your pictures, which will also help your search engine ranking. Keywords will facilitate proper education of each target audience, because if we understand how they think and they use that information to find you, then it will all resonate and they'll be very happy to use your information. Keywords can be used in videos and video marketing. They will certainly be embedded into your website. They're also very important to backlinks. Backlinks are what you get from other websites, and the more backlinks you get from other websites, the higher up in the ranking that you go, and we'll just talk about that in a future session. Keywords are also integral to your blogging and posting efforts, and they ensure you're recognized as an authority in your keywords. When you look at what keywords do, they drive people to your website, and they also make your information come up in what's called typically the organic searches. So when you search something in Google, you put your keywords in, and the first 10 websites that show up there on the list that are not advertisements, those first 10 websites are considered organic search results. And people give more credibility to an organic search result than they do to an advertisement that you see either on the right-hand side of Google or an advertisement that you see at the top of Google. And we'll look at some examples of that later. So that's kind of the background of what we're going to be looking at in this session. And we'll jump right in to Google. So Google, as I mentioned, is the center of the universe. There are other search engines like Bing, etc. However, Google gets about 65 to 80% of the search traffic. The quest to rank on the first page of Google is the Internet's version of kind of the Holy Grail. And any organization that hopes to see steady increases in visitors to their site should be concerned with using keywords to rank high on Google. Although not many outside of Google know the complete algorithm used to rank pages, there are some pieces of information that are quite useful for boosting your ranking. So we're going to go through this and provide you with tips on how to use the correct keywords on your website so that you have a high ranking in Google. But first, let's understand this a bit more and why ranking on Google really, really matters. Okay, so as I kind of mentioned before, when you're doing a search for a particular issue that you're researching, Google gives tremendous credit to what it calls relevance. So if I'm searching for photography, but what I really want to know is how to photograph dogs, if I'm sent by Google to a photography site that helps me take better pictures of houses, then that's not really relevant. So if I can put into my keywords photography for dogs, and I'm sent to websites that are all about photography for dogs, then I will be happier and Google will feel like it produced a better result. How Google does that is through the concept of Google bots. It's called a Google bot or a spider, so you can kind of see here this looks like a little robot and it says it's searching, and this part here looks like a little spider. So Google searches words that are on the internet, so on your website, on your pages, on your blogs, back in your source code, and it reads the words on your website and every other website out there. It does not read a picture, so if it just sees this picture here and there's no label to this picture, meaning something that would float up and show you that it's been labeled, then Google can't tell what this is, so it does not see that word search. It only sees typewritten words like depicted below the spider or the bot right here. So what it's looking for is it's looking for words that are linked to other words or other pages on the internet that make sense, that have relevance, and that make you feel like you've gotten to the right place. So when you're doing search engine optimization or SEO optimization, Google is looking at how much traffic you get on your website, and websites that get more traffic, it deems them as more important and helps raise them up into the rankings. From a sheer traffic perspective, Google gets about 69% of traffic and 80% of searches, so that's kind of how you define it. So SEO, or search engine optimization, is actually the most effective and the least costly thing to do out there. So it's more cost effective to do search engine optimization than it is to do advertising, but advertising will get you more hits quicker, and the Google search bots will it'll take it a little bit longer. Because what Google does is it takes your page, so let's say this was your page down here, and it's just kind of sitting out there on the internet for a while. And then it takes a picture of it, so to speak, or it does a cache of it, and it saves it over here. And then later on, the Google bot comes and stores it. So when it goes and looks for information, it's actually looking at this version that was saved. It's not looking at the most recent version that's actually out there. But what it does do is if you change your website pages frequently, if you add new fresh content to your website, Google says, wow, there's lots of activity going on this website. I need to go search it more frequently. So it goes back here and it looks at that page that was saved and it says, it doesn't look anything like this other one. So I need to recache that website page, research it again, and also update what I have on that particular page. So it's really important, again, to think about how often you're updating the pages and putting new information on there. So we're going to try to understand Google and search engines from the inside out. And the bottom line is never put anything online that you want to be found without doing keyword research first. You need to do keyword research before you do anything on any part of your website. If you have something on your website already, we need to look at that page on the website and optimize it for the best keyword, and we'll talk about how to do that a little bit later. So when you're doing your keyword research, it's important to find keyword phrases that get lots of searches and make sure the keyword phrases are targeted to your audience. And also you want to think about, hopefully, keywords that have low competition, because you want to be where no one else is so that you get chosen first. But if you have to go where everyone else is, you want to at least understand that it'll take you a little bit longer to raise high on the Google search engines if you go to a page that's go after keywords that are very competitive from that perspective. Okay, so let's look at an example over here. This is how the bots make sense of the world. So let's say you were a company marketing to brides-to-be. So they're the brides, and this is the market called brides-to-be. So what do brides need? Brides need wedding flowers, they need wedding dresses, they need reception venues, they need bonbonnieres, they need wedding photography, and they need wedding rings, among many, many other things. Well, if we had, let's say, one page of our website just in the middle, and it had all this information from all the different circles, all 6 circles placed on one page, when Google would come along and they'd be looking and they'd go, I want to find wedding dresses, they would get to this page and they go, it's a mishmash of information. It's not really consistent. It's not really clear. I don't really want to go here. I want to go to a different website which just talks about wedding dresses and only talks about wedding dresses, because then it says, wow, that's really clear. I can be very relevant to the person that I'm sending here, and they'll be happy and they'll think that Google's great. So think of almost Google as a person and say Google wants everybody to be really happy. So the question is, how do you get your website to be clean and clear and crisp and be only about wedding dresses when you actually want to sell all these other things as well? Well, the secret is to think of these circles as individual pages on your website. So if this page is about wedding dresses, you actually really don't want to have another page over here about wedding dresses, because then you'll just confuse Google and it'll say, do I go here or do I go to this other one? You'd rather have one page about wedding dresses that maybe links to a few others, that maybe this is pink wedding dresses and then blue wedding dresses and things like that, but you want to keep the flow consistent. You can go from wedding dresses to wedding flowers, but that you could almost say would be maybe another tab in your website or a totally different page in your website. So the keywords here should be wedding dresses, and the keyword on this page should be wedding flowers. This one will be wedding rings, etc., etc. So the idea is to find what's the keyword that you want to use for each and every individual page on your website to optimize things so that when the Google bots come along and they're searching, they go, yep, I want to go right over here to wedding photography. The person themselves might eventually go to the middle and might say, oh, I'm also interested in bonbonnieres, I'm interested in reception, etc., etc. But if you don't get them in with something relevant, then you're going to lose them and they'll go somewhere else instead entirely. So when the Google bots basically understand you, you are absolutely totally rewarded. So if this is the World Wide Web and these are the spiders or the bots, they're looking at that cached page, which is called a page repository, and they're saying what's on there and is it relevant to what I'm looking for this person who's out here searching, this person way out here searching. And it uses its own algorithm or logic for ranking, and it uses its own bot logic, and then it gives you a rank, and if you are very relevant, it ranks you high. If you're not very relevant, it's going to rank you low. So again, another reason to make sure your pages are very specific around particular keywords, because it enhances your ranking. So ranking basically, as I mentioned before, means an organic find, something that comes up because of these algorithms that the different search engines use, and the algorithms help make sure that relevant content is delivered to the person looking for it. So it's a much, as I said, much more cost-effective way to do this yourself rather than paying for an ad. And also people believe and trust it more than they believe and trust advertisements. So the first step to figure out what the keywords should be is to look, you can visit something called Google AdWords Keyword Tool. Here you'll want to enter possible search terms that visitors will use to find your site, and I'll take you there in a minute. The keyword tool will show you which keywords or phrases are hot, meaning they get a lot of searches, and you should try to use the highest keywords relating to your website or blog, taking into consideration what the competition is like as well. So I'm going to go to an example. So any questions so far?
Nope, sounds good
No?
so far.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to go right here. So this is what the Google AdWords page looks like. And I thought we would start out with your exact phrase. So newborn screening. So we typed that in, newborn screening. I'm not going to relate it to your website right now, and we're also going to look at what are the advanced options and filters. Right now it's come up as preset to look at the United States, but because this organization is located in Canada, we're going to switch it so that we're just looking at Canadian information there. And we want English, so that's good. We don't want adult ideas. We want to look at desktop and laptop devices, and we're going to look at what's happening on a monthly basis. Okay, so we're just going to close that. So now it's at Canada. I have to put in, if I can read this correctly, the little CAPTCHA phrase. So now it's searching to look for newborn screening out across the whole internet. And what it says, for newborn screening, from around the whole world, there are 33,100 searches per month. In our local area, which we've decided is Canada, there are 1,600 searches per month. And then what it's done is it said to us, okay, what else is relevant to this term that we put in up here? So we put in newborn screening, and right now it's sorting it by relevance. If you look over here, sorted by relevance, and it's saying that other relevant searches are newborn screening in Ontario, Ontario newborn screening in BC, British Columbia, newborn metabolic screening. But what you can see already here is on the things that are most relevant, they're only getting 320 searches in Canada per month versus the general term called newborn screening, which is getting 1,600 search terms. So if we're going to choose a word or a set of words, in this case newborn screening, from maybe the first page of our website, I would definitely choose newborn screening over newborn screening Ontario. The nice part though is newborn screening Ontario includes the words newborn screening as well, so you've kind of got a double hit there. But when people put in just newborn screening Ontario, they're only searching for that 320 times a month. As we go down, what you can also see is it looks at the competition. So how many other people are trying to search for this, and you can see that the competition is actually fairly low, which is great. So competition is the most competitive words, and it's looking at the number of searches as well. So we've got, so far, we've looked at we've considered sorting it by relevance. We can also consider sorting it by competition. So let's go here and sort it by competition for a moment. So what we can see is of the search terms that Google finds people also look for when they're looking for newborn screening, the term genetic testing has the most competition out of all of them. It actually gets 6,600 searches in Canada per month, but this amount of competition is actually not very high. You can see it when I put my cursor over it that it says low competition. So you could actually decide to optimize your website for genetic testing as well, and you would know that you'd get nearly 6 times or 5.5 times as many searches or people searching for that. They could come to a page that's all about genetic testing and tell them specifically about newborn screening. But the problem with that is you might also get a lot of people who aren't looking for genetic testing as it relates to newborns. So that might not be one you would want to choose. Another one that says it's related is hearing loss in infants, but I would imagine that's probably not related at all to newborn screening, and the number of local searches is very much lower than what you're getting up here. So let's move away from competition for a minute, and let's look at sorting it by how many searches occur monthly locally. I'll give it a minute just to work.
Infant hearing is another one of the screenings, actually, that does occur within the same time period.
Okay, excellent.
And our particular one, that's just probably why it came up so close to the top.
And so you might want to, for instance, create a specific page on the website all about infant hearing, and then drive people to that page, and then they'll navigate their way to the other pages of your website to find out about all the testing that you do.
Yeah, exactly.
So in this case, the most searched items that are related to newborn screening are cancer screening and genetic testing. So we already looked at genetic testing before. You have more searches globally for cancer screening than you do for genetic testing. And again, if you wanted to enhance your reputation around the world, and if cancer screening was something that you were looking at, then you could consider this a viable keyword. If it's not something at all related to what you're doing, if people are going to get confused, if they come search for cancer screening and then get to your website, then you might not want to look at that at all. So if we look at you come in at about 1,600. You have a couple other ones that are in the same range: screening newborn, newborn screening, spelt differently. You have neonatal screening. You have genetic screening, PKU, genetic testing, and cancer screening. So any of those, you could say, get more searches than newborn screening does. But there might be other ways to approach your organization, or that people think about your organization. So let's just go down here and see if there's anything that looks interesting. So maybe even the word infant screening. You could use the word infant screening. It gets only 110 searches per month, but we know that what you're talking about is you're talking about infants, and this might drive people specifically to a page that you could write all about infant screening. It might have information that could also just be called newborn screening, but you want to have different ways for people to find you. So those 110 people that are searching every month, if they're going to find somebody else instead of finding you, then you want to change that. You want to get them to come and see you instead of see somebody else. So this goes on, and you kind of just look through and say, what's related to my organization, to my business? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to have a page about on my website? I don't remember if cystic fibrosis was one of the things you screen for, but you could be really specific in that area. And
yeah,
this actually,
one of the top diseases.
Pardon me?
Cystic fibrosis is one of the top diseases that we screen for.
Perfect. Excellent. So you can see here you have very low competition, and you might want to create a separate page on your website just to get, you could actually create, let's see, 4 pages and spell it, you do 4 different keyword terms. You could do newborn screen cystic fibrosis newborn screening for cystic fibrosis. So the user won't know that you're actually using 4 different pages to capture them, but it's a way for you to kind of get everybody and not lose anybody in that process. This right now only shows the top 50 rows. There's actually 76 here, so you can change that, and we could go to 100, and we could show them all at once, and that way you could look down the whole thing all at the same time. Okay, so you see a few more down here. Newborn thyroid screening, even false, what is that, false positives on cystic fibrosis. So, but these are all very, very small, less than 10 per month, whatever. So one of the other things I want to cover on this page is this idea of broad, exact, and phrase. So what you're seeing is that sometimes newborn screenings, it shows up different ways. You can say, I only want to find the searches based upon an exact phrase. So because we put in newborn screening, let's see what it shows up for things that come in just exactly that way. Okay, so I have to unclick broad. Okay, so here you'll see when someone puts in the exact words genetic testing, or here they actually put those in and ask for those specific words in that order 880 times. If I go back and add in broad, you can see that when they look for the word genetic testing, whether it's testing genetic or genetic testing or put in quotes or not put in quotes, they look for that 6,600 times. So it just helps you understand how many times people look for something specifically versus how many times they look for something broadly. So when it's in the exact phrase, it has those brackets on the outside, and you can see the difference. So for instance, PKU at 1,600 versus PKU at 5,400 as an example. So, okay, so I also looked at another term that I thought would be interesting just to see, because maybe patients or consumers, maybe they don't use this term. Maybe they don't use newborn screening. Maybe they use something like infant health. So I thought, let me put in infant health and see what comes up for infant health. Takes a little while to load. Oh, there we go. So it kept my broad and exact. So what you can see is that for infant health, it has low competition and gets 1,300 searches per day. So before, when we looked at newborn screening, it was 1,600, and so infant health is actually getting quite a number of them as well. I'm just going to take out the exact for a moment, just to make it a little bit easier to look at. So the question I would ask myself is, are any of these searches, and right now we're sorted by local monthly searches. We have the highest searches at the top. So when a woman is pregnant, there's 1 million searches in Canada per month for women finding out something about being pregnant. The question would be is, do you want to show up in that search when women are looking for that, or is that just a bit too competitive for you? Or will you, so therefore maybe you'll never get to the front page. Maybe though you want to look at infants in general. Maybe you want to look at, let's see, babies. What else might you want to look at? Health of a child. Maybe again that's too old. Just trying to see what else is in here. What is health? Baby world. So even the term baby world, I'm not really sure what websites would be targeted for Baby World, but they get 9,900 searches for Baby World every month, which is higher than you get on newborn screening. Let's just see. Health tips, you could optimize for health tips. Health of a baby. Here you're getting into some other terms that may be good for a physician, like neonate or neonates. Again, more searches for those than the 1,600 that you're getting. Let's see what else. Healthy babies, that would be another one that's actually the same level as you. Healthy babies is the same as newborn screening. maternal child health, maternal and child health, again, pretty high up there in the numbers. So those are just some of the things to think about as you're going through. Okay. So any questions about any of that so far?
Nope, that sounds really interesting.
Okay. So let's just go back to the PowerPoint for a second. Okay. So we've sort of answered this question, but just to kind of recap it, why do you need multiple keywords? Because each page must be optimized for one keyword, and then the Google bots, this is just another version of a Google bot, the Google bots will love you. So going back to the example of wedding dresses, wedding flowers, wedding rings, reception venues, etc., it's really important to look at that type of information. Here. So the question is now, how do you optimize each page? So we know that keywords rule, and there's actually 4 areas that you want to look at. You want to look at the title on your page, the URL of your page, the description, the header tag or the H1 tag, and your copy density. So I'm going to explain those a little bit, and then we'll go look at an example as well. Okay, so the keyword in the title. The title on your website page is up at the top. I will show it to you in a minute in the source code. And nothing else should be in the title except your keyword phrase. Otherwise, you kind of dilute the power of the keyword phrase and Google gets concerned. So if your keyword phrase was infant health, you would only want to have on the title of the page of that website the words infant health. The other place that Google looks is in your URL. So right now in your URL, you actually have newborn screening in your URL, which is absolutely fabulous because that will help you optimize it. If you have something like www.mymothersSite.com, whatever you put after the slash, that can be where you put your keyword. So your keyword, if it was infant health, can go after the backslash, and that will help you optimize things as well from that perspective. Your description is what shows up when you do a Google search and there's a little bit of a paragraph right underneath each website. That's considered your description. This is what shows up on the Google page. It's kind of like your infomercial. You need to really make this good, and you need to put your keywords as close to the beginning of that description as possible, but at least in the first line or two. Your description only shows the first 160 characters. After that, it cuts you off. So you really need to use that space wisely and build curiosity, get them to take action. Something like, find out more about newborn screening by clicking here. You really need to get them intrigued to go further. Your description will basically pull and create from your website page if you don't input it. So I will show you again where you need to input it so that you can control the content that shows up in that little paragraph. Your head or your H1 tag is another basically tag on your website, and again that should only contain your keyword phrase. It should be, you should only have one header tag per page. The H1 tag is what people see. The title tag is what Google sees. So I'll show you later. We'll search for H1 and we'll find it. You need to put it near the top of your page when the person looks at your website page, and it shows up on the page and should be near the top of the page, as I just mentioned. So basically, the title, the URL, and the header tag all should just have your keyword phrase in them. The description is, of course, a longer thing, up to 160 characters, that has the keywords in it. And then we'll look later at your copy density as well and how often you should use their keywords in that page of the website. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out of here again, and I'm going to go here. And we're actually going to look at my website. Oh, what do I do first? Oops, I'm going to go backward first. I'm going to go to Google first. If I were to put in, let's say we're searching for health connections in Google, and I'm going to search for a certain page of my website that I know I have optimized for the term healthcare consulting. So just to go back before, this we know is an ad, so someone paid for this as an ad. So this is not considered an organic search result. What comes up from here down is considered an organic search result. No one is placing ads over here right now, but they could place an ad here as well. So what you can see is this is my website, healthconnections.com, but I've actually tried to go to this particular page. When you go to this particular page, you can see that here's my description. Health Connection provides healthcare consulting. So I've used that keyword phrase, which I was searching for right up here. Healthcare consulting based on our personal experience working inside the system, in the trenches to help you succeed, la 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 la. So this little description we wrote ourselves. If you don't write it yourself, then Google will create it for you, and therefore you have no control over it. But what you want to do is you want to write this yourself so that Google gets your keyword phrase right up there in the front, and it gets you higher in the ranking. So I'm going to go to that page now. Okay. So what you can see here is this right here, healthcare consulting. That's my keyword phrase again. So if you were just looking at this without knowing what you're looking at, you might wonder, well, why does she say strategic consulting and then why does she say healthcare consulting? I do that because I've called this tab strategic consulting, and so I want to reinforce that. But I also want Google to find my header, which is healthcare consulting. You can see I have it up here in my URL, so I've now shown you two places where I have healthcare consulting. I have it there and I have it there. And actually I have shown you three. I showed you how it exists in my description as well. So let me take you to the source code. What you do to get to the source code is I right-click on this page and it comes up with these choices, and I say view source code. So I view the source code to this page, and that will show up probably somewhere else. If I can get there. Here. So this is the HTML code. So it basically says, here's my title. So remember we said we want healthcare consulting to be in my title. So if I was trying to find where the title is in this, I could go edit, find, type in the word title, and it takes me to this spot here and any other spot that says title. I want to make sure that whatever exists between this word title, which is the opening word title, and this word title, which is the closing word title, that only my keywords are right there. Okay, so I've got title covered. I showed you the H1 tag on the website page, but let's find H1 now. So we're going to go in here and find H1, and it takes me right down here to line 149, and you see H1 starts it, and you see H1 ends this line, and in the middle I have the term healthcare consulting. So I've shown you now that I have the title covered, and I have the H1 tag covered. Okay, so now I'll go, I don't have to go back to the top, but I'll go back to the top anyway. Now I want to find the description. The description is usually at the top, and I can see it right there, but oops, I spelled it wrong. So here's the description, and this is exactly what you saw when I did the Google search. Health Connection provides, again, healthcare consulting based on our personal experience working inside the system in the trenches to help you succeed in a changing healthcare environment. We service da, 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 da. So I made sure healthcare consulting, my keywords were right up there up top. Now the fourth area that I said, let's say I said H1, is my URL. So let's just search for find URL. And I'm not sure if it's going to be right here. I don't think URL shows up on my source page, but yeah, it's the only place for it. But when you create this page in whatever software you're creating it in, so whether it's HTML or whether it's a web blog or whatever it might be, normally on other website pages, this is just some gibberish and just some numbers. So you need to tell your website people to change this wherever it's stored on the website so it says your exact same keywords. So this would give me my URL. It has now my keywords. My H1 tag has my keywords. The title, which is hidden, has my keywords. And the description, which is hidden from this page here but shows up on Google, has my keywords. So does that make sense? Those
yep,
four
so
places?
Does the webmaster have to control those elements, or is that something that anyone can do?
Well, anyone can do it if you've been given access to the HTML code. Like when I go here and, when I go and view source code and then show it to you, I can't actually edit the source code from there. But usually it's a fairly easy thing for you to say to the webmaster, okay, here's the description I want you to put in there. So you write it separately and they'll just stick it in there. For you to say, I want my title to be this keyword, I want my H1 tag to be this keyword, and I want my URL to be this keyword. They usually will feel uncomfortable letting you have access to it because they're going to figure that you might mess something up. You probably won't, but if you create like a little grid for them and say, okay, this page here, it used to say, up here it used to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want you to change that to healthcare consulting. On my next page, which is market research, that said, some other thing, I want you to change that to market research, etc. In my case, I've actually optimized this page for market research companies, and this page, health communications. I've optimized this page for health communication, etc., etc. I'm just going to shut off that noise there. Anyway, it won't work, so then I'll shut off myself. But anyway, so you need to look through and decide each page of your website, what's the keyword that page is going to own, and then optimize at least those 4 places for that page. So let me take you to another place. I'm going to take you to one of my blog pages. Oops. Okay, so on my blog, I'm going to go to a spot called Key Opinion Leaders. And what you can see here is this is my my title, my header, are right there. I've also got Key Opinion Leaders in my URL way up here at top. If I were to show you the source code, you'll see my description is all about Key Opinion Leaders. But what I want to show you here is 2 other things that you can do. One is this picture here, when I float over it, you see how it comes up and it says Key Opinion Leaders? So I've actually given this picture the keywords of Key Opinion Leaders as well. As I go down here, I've given this picture sort of the same, but I've called it Identify Key Opinion Leaders. So I'm now using in my picture tags my keywords again, which will give me more credits. I don't want to go overboard, so on this here it says my newsletter sign up for Health Connexions, so I'm not using my keywords, but this I'm going to use over and over again. Here I've taken 2 pictures I have, and I've given them my keywords as well. But what I want to do is I want to see how dense my keywords appear in all this copy. Now I could go through and count it, or I could search it and find it. So I can go Key Opinion Leaders, and I could find it and count it. But there's a much easier way to do that. And the easier way to do that is to use this tool here. It's called the Keyword Density website. So it's just basically keyworddensity.com. So if I go back to this page on my website and just copy this, so I take my URL and I copy it, I'm going to move back to the Keyword Density Analyzer, and I'm just going to paste my URL right there. And I'm going to tell this website that the keywords I want to optimize for are key opinion leaders, which I've already done, of course. So then I'm going to say, okay, please analyze my keyword density on that particular page to see if I'm as dense as I should be so that, again, I can get higher up in the search rankings. So what it presents back to me is this nice little chart. And what the key is you want to look way down here at the bottom number. And this number here should be somewhere between 1 and 5%. So I'm actually a bit higher, which is good. But you don't really need to be any higher than 5%. So let's go through it. See, in my title, it says my keyword, which is key opinion leaders or keyword phrase, shows up 1 time. So I have 100% right there. My visible text, how many times did I use it in my copy? My keywords show up 9 times out of a total of 600 words, so my percentage is 4.5 there. What else? In my images, you saw that I used it twice. I have some other images on there, so my percentage is over 7%. So there's all kinds of things that it's looking at to see. It's measuring whether it's in your URL, it's measuring whether it's in your header, in your title, in your density. But what you're really concerned about is this number here, and the easiest way to change that would be to put more keywords in my visible text, so more keywords in the actual. So it says it shows up 9 times. So if we were to go back to this page and search, so edit, find on this page, key opinion leaders, it says 8 matches. So it's pretty close. It said it had more when I took out the S. So it says I have 12 matches without the S, and it says I have 8 matches with the S. So I can do it that way, or I can go to the keyword density page and say, okay, I put it in there, I've tested it, am I where I want to be? If not, then I can change my words and put it in there more frequently. Okay, so down here it doesn't show at all. So now I've optimized in actually 6 different ways. I've optimized my copy, I've optimized my picture, I've optimized the URL, the title, the H1 tag, and my description. So all of those will help you raise up in your search engine ranking. So just to kind of read you a few rules that we have here, the number of total words per page should be greater than 400 usually. Most people have between 50 and 100 words per page, which actually isn't enough. The reason why it's not enough is because if I were to have only 50 words and I would have a lot of my keywords showing up, it would seem awkward what you're reading. It wouldn't seem valuable. So we say about 400 words or more. I think I had like 600 on this page. Of the total 400 words, it means keyword density means how dense is your keyword phrase represented in those 400 to 500, 600 words based upon the percentage, which I showed you. We recommend basically, like I said, between 1 to 2 and 5%. With 500 words, if you had a 1 keyword phrase, at 5%, it means your keyword would be showing up 25 times. If you have a 2 keyword phrase, it means your keyword phrase will be showing up 12.5 times. And if you have a 3 keyword phrase, it shows up 8 times, and a 4 keyword phrase would show up 6 times. So the longer your keyword phrase is, the fewer times you have to say it. But you also want to make sure it doesn't show up so many times so you're saying like, listen to my key opinion leaders, because key opinion leaders are great key opinion leaders because they're fabulous key opinion leaders. You don't want it to be like so that it doesn't make any sense. You have to make sure it makes sense. So the idea is to create your copy, analyze it, and then change the page according to the mathematics. Yeah, so, and if you do all 6 of those things, you should really help push you up in the ranking and help people find you in a more relevant way. So the idea is once you choose your keyword or keyword phrase, is kind of optimized again. So let's say now we've chosen the keyword phrase, and if we go back here, we had chosen, let's say we chose infant health. So the question now is, where do you stand versus your competition? So if we go to Google and we put in here infant health, the question is, who are the websites that come up? So what you can see here is usually top 10 websites. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10. Usually 10 come up on the front page. So this is who you're competing with. So as you look through this, you might say, well, infancy is generally the period, so this is like kind of describing infant health. It's about feeding, jaundice, sleeping, sudden infant death syndrome. You say, is that something I can compete with, or do I want to compete with something different? And so you can kind of look at this and see who are your major competitors. What you can also do, usually, let me just pick someone randomly and see if I can do this. I don't know if this will work. Let me pick a different one. I want just a regular website. Let's pick this one here. I'm going to see if I can see the source code on this page. Okay, so I can now go look at their source code, and I can see their title. And I don't see anything by this title. Okay, so they have infant health in their title. Okay, so we know that they're doing a good job there. I'm going to look now for their H1 tag. And they have infant health there. And I'm going to look for their description. They don't have a description. I wonder why. Let's just see up here if they have it, but no, so they don't have a description. And in their URL, we can see up here that they do have infant health. So the question would be is, of those 10 websites that were there, if we were to go through all 10 of those and check the H1 tag, the title, the description, and the URL, would they all be something that we could do better than? So you want to look at them and say, can I compete with them? Well, here we can see infant health in this URL. We can see infant in this. It's not in this URL. In this one, it's not in their URL. I don't think so. Let's just check. So maybe we could make changes on our website to get better than this website here in search engine ranking. So let's view their source code. So right up here you can see they don't have it in their URL. Look at their source code. P-I-T-L-E. Title. I don't see anywhere where they're using a title on this page. So that's good. Maybe we can, yeah, there it is. They should have their keyword right in between here, and they don't. So we could automatically be better than them. We won't get on the first page right away. There's some other things that they're doing as well, I'm sure. But they don't have it in their title. Let's see if they have it in their H1 tag. No matches found. I don't know why. No matches found. They should have an H1 tag. So I guess they're not even using an H1 tag. So that's good. And let's see in their description. Well, we should be able to look on the Google site and see their description anyway. No matches found. So this is one you could say I compete against this website. By just making those few changes to my website, I could probably do better than they can. And let's see if they have infant health here. Infant health. Nope, no infant health. So on all the things that are really important for ranking that you can control on your own website, they're not doing those things. There's some things that you can't control that we'll talk about in the next session, but on those things, they're not doing them. Oops, wrong one. Let's go back here for a second. Okay, so how to beat your competition. I just showed you that. Go to Google, search your keyword phrase, and for each of the top 10 websites, look to see what they're doing on their title, their URL, their description, their H1 tag, and you could also put them in to the keyword density piece and check that out as well. So from a summary perspective, you need to make your website rich page by page with each keyword. So one of the most effective ways to make full use of keywords is by creatively filling your website with content that is not just keyword friendly but keyword rich as well. You need to optimize your website for web readability. Of course, it needs to be very readable. It can't be, like I said before, where every other word is your keyword. And you need to maximize it to make it searchable. I've shown you about 5 or 6 different ways to optimize per page for the keywords. These keywords are sometimes visible to your customers' naked eyes, but we really want them to be visible to the Google spiders and bots. And that's one reason why if you give your picture, which a Google bot or spider cannot read, if you give your picture a keyword phrase, it can now read the keyword phrase that's associated with your picture, even though it doesn't have any clue what the picture looks like. So you really want to make sure the bots can recognize the keywords as they crawl around your website. Because when they latch onto your keywords, you're guaranteed kind of that nice cozy spot at the top of the Google search engine's page rankings. What else? Keywords should be highly relevant to your content. They need to be strategically placed them on each page, as we've covered. And next time what we're going to do is we're going to look at a backlink strategy, which is considered an off-site strategy to enhance your power of your keywords and get you higher in the ranking. So just before we go to questions, I wanted to talk about a bit of homework, and that is that you should research your keywords and keyword phrases. Make a list of the keywords and keyword phrases that you would like to include in your website. The keywords should be highly relevant to your site's content. You can use the Google's keyword tool that I showed you before to find relevant keywords if you're running low on ideas. You can also ask everyone in your whole organization to come up with keywords, and then you can look those up and see how often they're searched so that you can make a recommendation on what your keyword should be for each page on the whole website. You need to keep in mind that the more general a keyword is, the harder it is going to be to get a top ranking. For example, it would be much easier to get a top ranking for the keyword phrase like how to teach bulldogs to play fetch than it would be for the keyword phrase dog training, as an example. You kind of need to find out in your organization who can help you optimize your keywords for your website. That way you can tweak the content so it's highly relevant to the keywords that people are searching for, and then you can do the source code changes that you need to do, the H1 tags, the title, the URL, all that sort of stuff to move forward. Now, with these changes, it can take a little while. Some people say it can take up to a couple of months for the search engine optimization efforts to take full effect. So you shouldn't really be discouraged if you don't achieve the top ranking overnight. But what I think if you can do between now and next week is kind of develop at least 10 keywords and try to look at how you would optimize the site copy for each page and each keyword that you've chosen. You'll also use this later in writing articles, so we'll kind of stick with maybe 10 to 20 keywords as we go forward. You kind of need to think about what are people looking for that would lead them to you. So what are maybe physicians looking for? What is, are nurses looking for? What are patients looking for? Whoever your target audience would be. For the pages that you already have on your website, you need to look at that page on the website and decide what it's about and optimize that page for the best term. So right now there might be no term that you've optimized it for, but you need to kind of decide each page, like if you have 30 pages now, what's the keyword for each of those pages, and then make the changes to optimize it. As you do your research, decide what other new pages you need to create based upon things that people typically search for. I kind of mentioned if you have multiple target audiences, you need to figure out keywords for each group. So maybe patients think about babies, maybe doctors think about neonatal as an example. I would say a good thing to think about would be to almost create like a keyword map or strategy for your current pages, include in those any proposed new pages, and then things you want to talk about on a blog once you add a blog to the site, which we'll talk about in another session. So bottom line is keywords are pretty much foundational because they give you organic traffic, which is credible, very credible in the eyes of those looking for good, relevant information. And really what Google rewards is relevance more than anything else. So with that, any questions?
So once, hold on, just a minute. So I don't hear myself speak.